Taking care of 75 reptiles is a lot of work. Takes a lot of time, but what exactly is my daily routine? 75 reptiles, how do you keep them happy? How do you keep them clean? What do you gotta do every day? My name's Adam, this is Diamond, you're watching Wickens Wicked Reptiles, stick around. I think you'd be surprised to learn that it doesn't take as much time as you might think right off the top. And that's just simply because there are certain things that you do once a week that kind of mitigate daily work for most animals. And this is what I mean. Make sure your light cycle is proper once a week or once a month. I've got these smart plugs that change the lights, so when the lights go on, when the sun comes up, the lights go on. When the sun goes down, the lights go off. I just check every morning to make sure that the lights actually go on, there's no malfunction, because these do connect via Wi-Fi, and Wi-Fi, it's not always perfect. So this is just something that I do every single day. I go downstairs, make sure that everything's good, and I just kind of look around. Is everyone okay? Is there any issues? Stop trying, man, he's whispering murderous thoughts in my ear. And I spot clean as well. So first thing in the morning, get up, go downstairs, look at your reptile room, lights are on, and then whatever has to be fed gets fed. Anything diurnal. So Bob, the jeweled lacerda, Mr. Diamond here, he gets fed in the morning. And then we've got the skinks as well, and they're diurnal, so we feed them in the morning. And this is every other day for the most part, the Sudan plated lizard as well. Just because in the daytime, they're awake. Oh, there's a snake that escaped. So there you go, perfect example why you check every day to make sure everything's okay. I just finished cleaning the entire reptile room. I left a bin open an inch and a little ball python escaped. But anyway, that's what you do first thing. And then if you don't have an automated mister, which I don't, I manually spray. I use one of these really awesome 1 gallon, I think it's 2 gallon sprayers. I'll spray everyone down that needs to be sprayed down. Indonesian skink for one, crested geckos, things like that. Spray them down, and then if we've got time, I'll handle these animals. So part of the thing with owning lots of reptiles is you want them to be handleable. And a lot of the times you have to work on them to make them handleable. So twice a day, if I can, I'll handle the animals at least once for sure. But in the morning, very simple. Get up, do a general check, scoop out the poop, spray them down, feed who needs to be fed. It's a really simple thing. It takes some time for sure, but then it's time to go to work. Yay. Because it's really expensive to take care of 75 reptiles. If you want a breakdown of what it costs per month, per year to take care of this collection, put it in the comments section below and hit the thumbs up. If we get to 1,000 thumbs up, I'll make that video. That's gonna be surprising. It's pretty expensive.
I think you'd be surprised. I really do.
So there's your daily stuff, and then you go on and do whatever you do during the day, you work, and then you come home, and then the work's not quite done yet when you have this many reptiles. Now, a lot of the stuff I want to mention too is every other day. So the feeding is every other day. If you have a misting system, it sprays for you. You just got to check the water every day, which takes all of 30 seconds. So it's not like this is a full-time job taking care of these reptiles. And when you go home, it's much of the same sort of stuff. And the timing depends, because for me, I like to do the work as reptiles wake up and then as they go to sleep for a few reasons. Because there are some diurnal animals I feed once a week, but in general, in the nighttime, before the lights go out, I go down and I, again, spot clean. If needed, I spot clean and spray down the enclosures as well. And then, because once everything is wet, then it's not going to get any more wet, and it's not going to interfere with the food. For example, I feed leopard geckos at night. So instead of spraying them down after, and then you get this messy clump of mealworms or crickets or whatever, or you start washing off the supplements that you put on to the insects, you spray them down first. What was that? Diamond wants to fight the snakes. That's not a good idea. So I feed the geckos, dust them with supplements every other feeding. Wham bam, Bob's your uncle. You're pretty much done. Now the lights are off. So you do this right before the lights go off, or that's what I do anyway. And then now you can get to handling. Now, of course, there is once a week stuff like feeding snakes. So just to say this right off the bat, if I feed snakes, I don't handle the snakes after I feed them or before I feed them, because I don't like getting bit by snakes. It's not my favorite thing at all. Please don't jump at the snakes again. And with the feeding too, I dump the water and refill the water. So once every other day, everyone gets new water, of course. And then with the spray bottle as well, I always make sure it's fresh water in the spray bottle once every other day. This is something I forgot to mention, but I don't know, it just feels like a common sense thing that I always do. And this is really the daily routine. Now, I just described it super fast, like it's no big deal. It does take quite a bit of time. But the big thing is the weekly stuff, because a lot of animals need to be deep cleaned once a week. So my leopard geckos, these racks right here, I have to deep clean them once a week basically, which means taking out the substrate, which is paper towel for the most part, putting the substrate back in, cleaning the water dishes, cleaning the hides, moistening them down, feeding the leopard, which you do anyway every other day. This takes the most time. Cleaning these racks, deep cleaning them, changing the substrate and everything, for sure, takes the most amount of time. So yeah, we're talking about like that's a 5-hour day sometimes. But not only just the racks, but these guys behind me, I've got a whole rack of PVCs and I got some on the side here too. And then there's stuff that comes up, you know, not every other week. Stop trying to bite my ear. Not every other week necessarily, but just all the time where, don't do it. And you also have to worry about stuff that just happens all the time. For example, my Sudan plaited lizard, for whatever reason, the UVB, the bulb where the bulb goes into, the fixture, it just broke. So now I've got to go get another one. Today is Thanksgiving, Canadian Thanksgiving, so I can't do it today. So no UVB today. Or going to change lights. Sometimes with UVBs, I always try to do it so that every strip that I have, every 6 months, I just change them. I'll test them to make sure that they're not totally done. But in general, most of the time, 6 months is how long they last. And then I change those. So there's certain monthly things and weekly things that you sometimes don't think of, but they add up. And then of course feeding snakes, that's kind of fun to me actually, but that's once a week normally. So every week, if there's babies, it's different. I feed twice a week to baby hognose snakes, but in general, once a week. So say on a Saturday or a Monday or whatever day I choose, it changes sometimes, I'll feed. And then the Dumerl's boa and the BCI, they'll get fed once every 2 weeks or once every 3 weeks, depending on what their weight's like. So you just kind of, it's a lot of common sense. And that's why I never really did this video to start, because A, it's kind of boring just to describe the day and put a bunch of B-roll on it. Like, it just changes for everybody. It's not the same. And just because I do something this week, it's not going to be the same next week. And if I do something today, it's not going to be the same as tomorrow. Today being a holiday, I had a little bit of extra time. So I made a video and I deep cleaned when normally I do that type of thing on, say, like a Friday or a Saturday at the end of the week. It just depends. So there's no right way to do it. There's no right way to have a daily routine. This is just what I do. And I guess at the end of the day, what you're thinking is, how much time does it actually take? And if I had to average it out, because some days I don't come down here at all, except for twice a day to check everything and make sure everything's good. Some days I come down here, no one needs poop scooped, no one needs to be fed, everything is fine, the lights are perfect, everything, right? And oh yeah, water changes for the axolotls and the turtle. It's a once a week thing too. And then there's other days where I come down here and I'm in here for 5 hours. One day I was in here for 8 hours. That was the day after we moved. You can watch that video up here if you want. That was a week and a half, I'll tell you that. But if I had to average it out, I would say an hour a day, probably. Maybe even less. 45 minutes to an hour a day on average is what I would spend on most weeks. Of course, there are some weeks where I spend 4 hours in the week total, and there's some weeks where it's 12 or 15 hours total. So it just depends. I don't know how I can... There's no right answer. There's no like perfect answer. I want to say a special thank you to the Patreon supporters who, one of you actually gave me this idea for the video. I love this platform. You get discounts on the merch. You get to see these videos up to a week early, extra content, pictures. There's stuff in my collection only Patreon knows about. If you're into that sort of thing, hit the link. As little as $1 a month. I don't know, everyone seems to enjoy it. The Discord is free, that's awesome. And the cages enclosures that we've been promoting, holy cow, these things, you guys are loving these things. A discount code below, and I've plugged absolutely everything now. Hit subscribe, see you on Monday.